Hello, everyone. And this is something that, as I've said from time to time when I'm doing the Catalyst meditation, things come to me, and the things that come to me are for public consumption. So let me um, talk about this and the thing that came to me is as I was doing our declarations before our meditation. Most of the time I read it, it's like, oh, yep, 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 that's what I want. I think that's what we want, and yeah, and kind of go on from there. And but today it came a lot clearer and stronger, and I realized that that section 6, the setting and energizing of our declarations, is something that we don't have in our society. And we don't have it in such a powerful way, we don't even recognize that we don't have it. And I think that you could take the however many principles there are, 4 categories, and let's say maybe 7 to 10 principles, that they form the centerpiece of a declaration or a manifesto of how society should work. Now, remember, we've talked about working the catalyst meditation over the course of the next few weeks so that by the end of August, we can transform it if it needs any transforming, but we can modify it as we see fit to include or exclude whatever it is that we wish to do, and that we will do that holonically. Um, we'll do that together. But so the first thing was I started asking, well, there was a question inside of me of where is this society's um, uh, where is its declaration? Where is its manifesto? And the closest thing we have to one is our Declaration of Independence, which, and I've talked about it before, is a pretty darn powerful document. It said some things over 200 years ago that we're still trying to, well, some of us are still trying to ascribe to. Some of us are still trying to live, and some of us are still trying to struggle with. Unfortunately, many of us, including our leaders on all sides, stopped that struggle some time ago. They realized they could get power without ever having to deal with any of that stuff. Um, and um, um, the next level of a declaration or a manifesto was the Communist Manifesto. And I was, when I first encountered the Communist Manifesto as a teenager, I was very struck by it. And the thing, I was struck in a couple of different ways. Number one, that it's possible to understand our society, human society, in a way that made more sense than what we were doing. That there's an alternate way of looking at the world. And on the one hand, I kind of bought into it. And the reason I bought into it was it was very, very in your face to the existing power structures. And I was that kind of teenager. And we we would get um literally cases of the Communist Manifesto shipped in from various places, um, and give them away at the high school and piss everybody off. It was, so it got so that the kids were okay. So we got these little tiny um, this is Chairman Mao's thoughts and his manifesto. But I actually read the real Communist Manifesto, the Karl Marx Engels version, which is as close to unreadable as you can get. And I read it. The only thing I can say is, hey, I read it actually. So, but yeah, we had these little red books, and you stick them in your back pocket. And when you get to a rally, you start wave you hold it up and you wave it, and that's about as much as people got with it. They just knew that I'm not part of this society. I'm not part of this deal. This is a different deal here. Um, and when the cops would arrest us, they would take the red books, and I don't know what they did with them. They never gave them back to us. And we just get a few more cases of them and distribute some more of them, and there's an ongoing battle. But I also recognize that the manifesto and the red book, we're talking about a very, very limited portion of a society. It left out a whole broad swath of how human beings live on this planet. And because all of that, the Communist Manifesto, the various capitalist manifestos, the agrarian manifestos that created the Green Revolution in India, etc., all of them were talking about parts of a society. There were none that were encompassing the breadth of a society. And I'll run that right back. I won't say there were none, but there were various attempts at them, and they were not um, um, generally spiritually based. Um, and because they were spiritually based, every other religious group would shoot at them. They just became target practice. Um, and um, um, so we kind of we're on free float. And as we float around, we kind of have this notion of what it is that we are doing and how we're doing it. And we don't understand. So when an idea comes forward, we latch onto it as though that were the thing that was the centerpiece of, or could be the centerpiece of a society. And and then it's not. And then we recognize the inherent contradictions in what it is that we're proposing. And then it goes by the boards, and then it um, something else comes up, and we start chasing that rabbit. I am hoping I have been hoping since I started pulling together the catalyst meditation that the elements that make up our declarations are will become the centerpiece for a number of experiments in how do human beings live their lives? What do you do in terms of living your life? Um, how do you express yourself in this world? Not only, so the if you've read the Communist Manifesto, good for you. If you haven't, you got kind of know the broad outline of it, and you know it's basically an economic document with political ramifications to it, um, and there is a lot that is not covered in it, and um, the things that have been not uh, its its failings have been just because it's not a spiritual document. It's not a cultural document. It's not a consciousness document. It's not it's not a whole lot of things that we need other than what the uh, what Marx, Engels, and Mao came up with. Um, and so um, today, as I'm sitting in the meditation and I'm realizing that um, the declarations that I've put in the Catalyst meditation and that that we have been modifying along the way um, have been it really does have this larger um, it's a larger container than any of the containers that uh, we being human beings have been um, dealing with. And also, but also it's not so large that it evaporates. And that's the problem that I think we've had with most of our sub manifestos, our good ideas, our organizational constructs and things like that. Um, so I'm going to spend another 5 minutes walking through the declarations, especially the last one. And then I am going to be complete with this section here. Um, so our first one is we declare that Gaia or Mother Earth or the force or however you want to characterize it, is the ultimate governing principle. It's that it's not economics, it's not politics, it's not human power. It is the thing that should be governing our actions, the ultimate governance of our actions on this planet, and that replaces all other forms of human governance. Now, right away, um, no, or you may not know. Replacing all of the forms of human governance doesn't mean you do away with them and make them illegal. Um, the primary element of human governance on our planet 200 years ago were kings and queens. Um, we ceded our power to them. They told us what to do. We get pissed off if they sometimes with them and chop their heads off, and then get some more new kings and queens to kind of get that going. And uh, and then they would fight with each other, and that meant that we had to fight with each other because they were fighting with each other, and things, a lot of turmoil came out of that. We have to also recognize that a lot of good came out of that. We live on a very different world because we have had breaker power and breaker energy over the course of the years. And now we've reached the terminal point of that, that we need something else to govern our behavior on this planet. Um, the way that we come into alignment with what the will of the earth is by subjecting ourselves to that will. The second one was we declare that humans are colony beings. That's not as obvious, and it's also not as people don't recognize the importance of that, but our ability to act as a colony being, to know what to do, to just know it right here and to act from it. And every human being I've talked to says that they have had the time of just knowing that this is the right thing to do. Um, and have acted together with others. Now, a lot of those times tend to be emergencies. Let an earthquake come, and it's amazing how quickly we can act as a colony to do the right thing. Um, and then you have government getting in the way of it. Yeah, the government. We know what we're doing, and they don't. Okay. So our human murmurations, our human harmonies, our human ways of doing things act for us in that world. Then the third one is the recognition that Gaia or Mother Earth or the Force or the One or whatever you want to call it is providing all necessary resources to achieve the vision. This is really important for me because, on the one hand, I know that I'm not doing this alone, and we're not doing this alone. On the other hand, I act like I am. I act like this is all my doing, and I got to work harder, and I got to. It's like, okay, chill. Um, However, I have to say at the same time, sitting in the cave at the 15,000-foot level in the Himalayas, surrounded by millions of tons of rocks and no human beings at all, I got my marching orders, and the marching orders were really, really big. And I've been trying to do this marching order thing for the past 12 years. And it's the bigness of it has been daunting for me. And I'm really waiting for people to get. Yeah, I feel like I've had this whole book of matches here, and I'm trying to light this fire, to light the fire. Okay, just getting. I need to know book of matches. I'm still trying to light the fire, and I'm starting to see a little bit of smoke, and I'm like, oh my goodness, maybe the fire is getting lit now, and I'm seeing something. Now, what does the fire mean? Once we get these resources going, what's the purpose of the resource? Well, the purpose has there's one purpose to it, and that's to make me fantastically wealthy And so I can get my Maserati, maybe two or three Maseratis, because hey, there's a lot of wealth in the world, and a super yacht bigger than Jeff Bezos's yacht, and we can all go party on my yacht. Um, um, what my goals are has nothing to do with anything that looks even slightly like that. It's not about me because me is okay. Um, what it's about is finding a way for everybody else to become okay. And that to me means that we need to create a political and an economic system. One of the things I think everybody's learned is that political systems and economic systems go hand in hand. If you have a flawed economic system, you're going to have a flawed political system. If you have a flawed political system, you're going to have a flawed economic system. So to recognize that what you're doing, and I think Marx recognized this, and that's the thing that kind of got me to recognize you've got to have all these elements together. So when we say that we declare that we're creating a political and economic system, first of all, we're declaring that these things go hand in hand. And then there are what, six different elements to the system. Um, Number one, all beings participate in it. Number two, all beings are in relationship with it. All beings own it. All beings benefit from it. And all beings govern it. And they do that for the common good. Now, I think number one, right after the first one, that's when people start getting off the boat. No, I'm sorry. That's where our breaker system gets off the boat. Um, all beings participate in it. Yeah, you should vote. You should have a voter's card. You should once every few years perform the kabuki ritual of going getting your ballot and filling it out, and you've done your duty, and then you can go back to sleep. Um, but participation means a lot more than that. Um, Second piece is all beings are in relationship with it. And relationship is really big stuff for me. I actually have been calling this the relational economy and relational society, that we all act like we are in relationship with each other. And this is one of the things I've seen. I developed this all around the world, seeing how people actually act toward each other. Places where government is very, very thin, that most people don't govern their lives with government. They govern their lives by being in relationship with each other. My principal example of that is being in Kathmandu, in Nepal, and being in a city with 1 million people in it. Lots and lots of cars in it. No traffic lights and no traffic control, and the streets don't even have names. Now, get around. Other than, just get around. And you know something? People do. When I was there, I think I was there for a couple of months, and you get from place to place, and oh, I'm sorry, add to that, no street lights at night. Um, yeah, people get around, you get from place to place, you get, um, uh, it's really amazing. You get as close to a location as you can probably figure it out, and you just stop, knock on anybody's door. Do you know Joe? I don't know any Joe. You knock on another, you know, oh yeah, he lives three. streets that way and two streets that way, and you get closer to it and you figure out where you're going. So being in relationship with each other and everybody being in relationship with each other is a big deal. The third part is where we start diverging from all other breaker um, ideologies. And that is that all of us own it. And I got that from looking at colony beings. There is no leader in a murmuration. The starlings are one being and they act as one being, and how they go, where they go, uh, is is governed by all of them together. And as soon as you see it, you know you're looking at beauty. Um, um, I said this some months ago. After For a while, the crows in Portland were choosing the Lloyd Center, where I'm living, as their rallying point before they would go nesting, wherever they're nesting. And so it's at sunset. There's tens of thousands of crows right here, all singing to each other and all swirling in the same directions. Not quite the kind of murmurations that the starlings do, because starlings are smaller and can kind of do these loop-to-loop things. But really, so magnificent as I'm walking down Broadway and the sky gets darker because there's so many birds in it. People, regular, like people walking down Broadway about there, is stopped and they're looking up and they're pointing up and they're talking to us like, wow, I've never seen that before. And that's the way we govern our behavior. Okay. Um, all beings benefit from it. And you look at the number of beings who actually benefit from our existing systems, and then you look at the people who are burdened by our existing systems, and you realize this is not a level playing field. And rather than trying to level the playing field, let's get a new playing field. Let's let's figure out how to do this whole deal differently. All beings governing it is another, I think, um, we, the question is, does my elite govern things or does your elite govern things? And we need to get way beyond, um, uh, this gets us right back to the kings and queens eras, um, that they, that, Queen Elizabeth determined who we declared war on or who we were making peace with and what the relationships were. And when the English and the French sat down to talk about the world, they um, there was a handful of people in the room. Most of the people, human beings on the planet, didn't even know the room was there and didn't know they were talking about their lives and going to be impacting their lives, etc. And then talking about, so we will govern our actions by the the will of the group, not the will of an individual. And then finally, well, um, the last part is for the common good. Who are we doing this stuff for? Who are we going to Mars for. And Elon Musk would say, we're going for humanity. We're going to have a whole new home for humanity. And then I would say, okay, everybody raise your hand if what you want is a new home for humanity, or what you want is happiness and security on this planet right here. Um, so that is the core element of our declaration. That is the way we get to a world that works for all living beings. We will have various expressions of that in the next several days, weeks, months, years, maybe a decade or two before things actually settle down into a rhythm that we can live with. And I hope to be along for the ride. Um, on top of all this stuff, I have a role to play. I'm I'm opening myself to that role. I don't want to I don't want to say anymore because I think that it will occupy another half hour. So let me say thank you for listening. Um, and there'll be more in a bit. And may all beings be well, may all beings be secure, and may all beings be happy. Thank you.